again. So, unless you've been living under a bit of a rock recently, you can't help but to have noticed the almighty splash of a new political party in the UK going by the name of Restore. It's a party led by Rupert Lowe, who was formerly a member of the Reform Party, and it's effectively kind of grassroots movement based in Great Yarmouth, where I believe Lowe currently holds a seat. It's not too far from Clacton-upon-Sea, where Farage is based, which is another largely English sort of working class, deprived, holdout, coastal town. And I think the main difference between the Great Yarmouth Party and the Clactonite Party, we'll call it, it has a much more explicit concern for the repatriation of illegal immigrants primarily, which, as a kind of hot potato voter issue topic, it's like kryptonite to the Clactonites, as it were. Reform won't go near it. And so this really stands in quite stark contrast to the Reform Party and Nigel Farage, who recently has somewhat fallen out of touch with his voter base, with just a lot of ordinary people. I think there's a kind of growing understanding that Nigel Farage is very divisive with his own voter base. In fact, very few people have done more to divide the right than he has. Probably nobody has punched down more than he has at the so-called far right, who, for the most part, again, are just normal people concerned about all of the rapid, just deleterious changes that they've seen happen in the UK over the course of their lifetimes. And then on top of that, he's kind of obsessed with maintaining his own political image as this kind of country boy, sort of little Englander, but that doesn't mind living in a kind of multicultural, multiracial society. No matter how bad it gets, no matter what the consequences and the costs. And he's very happy to put down anyone that remotely challenges that jealously cultivated image that he keeps. And he's also kind of weirdly obsessed with maintaining power, but rarely seems to take the lead or the initiative on things, when it matters, really. He always reverts back to a sort of liberal, equality-based policy, for example, wanting far more people immigrate from outside of the Eurozone, from Africa and Asia, to fill gaps in the economy, whatever they are, but happy to stymie intra-European migration. Basically in favour of growing a de facto slave class of just outsider immigrants at the expense of the British taxpayer, as always. And of course, this is most important, to virtue signal to everyone that he is in fact definitely not racist. And I think that's his main concern at this point. It's just not being racist. That's his whole shtick, really. But to go back to Restore, as a result of Reform kind of somewhat losing popularity a bit, they've come along and proposed an alternative to Reform's kind of lightweight flip-flopping, which is principally mass repatriation of illegal immigrants, which common sense abiding, you wouldn't think would be a problem, given that they're illegal. They're here illegally, right? So I think for the average British person, although a lot don't like to admit it, it's a no-brainer policy. What should be an easy win for Reform is now really in the hands of Restore, or at least the momentum has somewhat shifted over to them. And I've just got this off the interwebs. Other stated objectives that they have, I'll be quick with this. Immigration and border control proposals focus on significant reductions in net migration and changes to the current asylum and detention systems. Social and cultural policy. Platform emphasise return to traditional values, focus on the nuclear family. Legal reform. Positions include expanding definitions of self-defence and implementing stricter sentencing and law enforcement measures. It's quite spicy. Economic policy. Party advocates for a smaller state through tax cuts, reduced public spending, and finally governance. The movement promotes a direct democracy model, encouraging members to participate in policy making, and seeks to partner with local political groups. And all of this to achieve a fundamental shift in the UK's political and social landscape. So, thank you, ChatGPT there. See, Skynet's not all that bad after all, is it? So, with all that being said, Restore are decidedly a bit more radical than Reform, I think we can agree. They actually want to institute real change in Great Britain and reverse the cultural institutional decay of the last few decades under recent successive neoliberal parties in the UK, like most notably Tony Blair. Now, can they win in the next general election? Like, honestly, I think it's very unlikely. They want to achieve power via like a democratic revolution, apparently. So it's highly speculative at best. But I do think there's a chance. I mean, there's more of a chance now than there's ever been, given the current socio-political landscape and the sentiment of the average British person, just at the wit's end. And I think just the united, like universal resentment of Keir Starmer. I mean, there's at the end of the day a real desire for an alternative political party. I think Reform was, but there's a growing understanding, I think, among the general populace that they're just not good enough for Britain. They don't have what it takes, and really, at best, they're slightly to the right of the Conservatives, which really is just embarrassing at this point. I mean, the recent Boris wave, brought in more immigration than any other previous leftist political party before them. I mean, a lot of people trusted Boris Johnson, thinking he wouldn't do something like that. So, based on that logic, is our Nigel salt of the earth, who every right winger supposedly trusts? Is he just, what's he going to do? Is he just going to let in the whole world and two of every animal, like Noah's fucking Ark? With the UK being the Ark, you wouldn't put it past him at this point. Just empty the whole world and put everyone in the UK, because it will be an economic powerhouse and we'll have the highest GDP and we'll have a new rainbow British Empire. I mean, at this point, yeah, I think they could. If that's how it'd end up, I think if Reform kept power, and just given how just so not racist that they just always say they are. I mean, who knows? Who knows what kind of betrayal is coming from Reform? I mean, predictable, entirely predictable betrayal. But let's be honest about it all. Reform will probably win the next election. But I think, though, isn't there a chance that if they don't get a large enough majority, they could potentially partner with Reform, hold hands with them to get first past the post, and win against all the other neoliberal parties? I mean, if it is, I mean, Restore rather, might actually get a seat in power, even though they're having to ride the admittedly shitty coattails of Reform, right? They might get in. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe they could just win outright, but I mean, let's just put it this way, we undoubtedly live in interesting and very volatile, unpredictable times. So who knows at the end of the day? I think they have a chance. So I think that's all I've got to say on Restore. I mean, Rupert seems like a sound bloke. I hope he wins and bring repute to an ailing British seaside town. Great Yarmouth rising from the ashes. And even if it doesn't, it's still better than Brighton anyway. With that, I'll see you in the next video.